think initializing recording. Okay. Live. Sorry, I'm on a bouncy table thing here. Let me see, pull up some of the stuff here. All right. It is February 4th. I want to do this last Tuesday, but last Tuesday was way too crazy. We just had a lot going on. After King of Motos, we were in St. George, Utah area for the hard enduro burros. So we were busy shooting with that, and we had a decent amount of the guys. It was a little chaotic this year with the way the U.S. hard enduro schedule is, because obviously we had King of Motos, not this weekend, but the previous weekend. And then it was straight to basically prep for Hawaii if you're going to Hawaii. And I know a couple of the pros didn't realize that the container was leaving like Wednesday, so you had to have your bike ready to go. So we lost Will Reardon there for a bit in hard enduro burros, and then James Flynn wasn't able to make it because he had too much work to do on his bike as well. So for a majority of the hard enduro burro shoot, it was myself, Brandon Petrie, which was rad to ride with him. I never got to ride with him outside of racing before. Braxton Hinsey, which was sweet. He was like the young gun that had all balls, that's for sure. He was not afraid to send it at all. Danny Lewis, was fun riding with him again. Ryder LeBlanc, which is always entertainment at its finest. So yeah, that was like the group of us that was there essentially the whole time. I feel like I'm missing someone, but I don't think so. Yeah, and then Will showed up the last 2 days a little bit later because he was prepping his bike for Hawaii. So yeah, that was fun. Obviously I wanted to be quicker with this on the recap, but there was just a lot going on, and we didn't get back till about after dark essentially, so I wouldn't be able to do this anyways. Would have been fun though if I got like a whole group of all of us together BSing. But yeah, it's been definitely a lot since King of Motos. I learned a lot, that's for sure. And then we barged to Vegas, Adam and I did, Gator, and then washed the bike, prepped a little bit, and just hung out and went on Pulp MX Monday night. So if there are any Pulp fans out there, watch that episode. It's Pulp MX is just Steve Mathis knows absolutely nothing outside of Supercross, so I have to take advantage of whenever I can to get on the show and pump up the off-road world a little bit. So yeah, anyways, I guess I'll start chatting about King of Motos, since that's more or less what I want to talk about here, since it's still fresh. But yeah, it was just a busy week for me leading up to that event, and there was a lot that had to get buttoned up that weekend before. But I was working on my bikes, trying to prep as much as I could, and then I knew Adam was coming out to help me finish them, and we had to finish the wiring harnesses because the one on my practice bike was just kind of a mock-up to see if it would actually work. So we buttoned up the wiring harnesses, did them really well, put them in a wire loom, really good connections and everything. And I had essentially two different bikes to build out. My practice bike was more or less ready to go. I had already prepped that myself and just, jetting and a few other miscellaneous things. But, the race bike, the one I raced at King of Motos, I had the kickstart there. I just like the clutch better on that bike. Still trying to figure out the E-Start one. But the E-Start was nice. We finished the bikes over the weekend. So we worked Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And, I think the first Friday night, Gators at my house, we worked till probably 11:15, 11:30. And then the next night, we worked pretty late and then went back and watched Supercross because it was Saturday night. And then I think we tinkered a little bit more. And then Sunday was basically worked till about 1 or so, and then packed and organized and, gathered all the boxes I needed for spare parts and oils and this and that. So my first time doing this kind of as like a privately owned deal. There's a lot to learn, that's for sure. And I like to call myself now like a well-off privateer because I have everything I need. It's just now on my shoulders to make it happen. So yeah, we got everything loaded up Sunday, finished loading a couple things Monday morning. and it was my son's birthday, so we hung out and I got donuts. Perfect race fuel week diet, of course. I basically left that Monday of King of Motos, and we drove all the way to Barstow from around Denver area where I live. So that was a good 12 hours, or probably more than that. 14 hours maybe, somewhere around there. And then I was editing some of the videos and this and that, took turns driving. And the very next day we barged down that morning to Dirt Bike Magazine to do a studio shoot on my bike. I want to try and get as much recognition as I can for not only myself, but just the off-road community and US Hard Enduro. And, that was part of this whole endeavor of going to Yamaha, was to kind of take the power into my own hands and try and keep elevating our sport. I think it's really, really huge that, a Japanese manufacturer is now involved. So yeah, and obviously all Dirt Bike Magazine cared about was my E-Start bike, because, the YZ doesn't come stock with an E-Start, but I'm honestly more excited about the other bike because to me, it's more factory. Like, it's got machined flywheel weights and a little more custom one-off work done to it. Obviously, the Fish Moto E-Start I'm using is, custom, but it's an off-the-shelf thing you can buy and install on the bike. So, we did the the studio photo shoot, and then that was literally that morning is when I got my Aero helmet, because I'm wearing an Aero helmet now. And obviously I got a couple of rides back here and bells from back in the day. The Aero just vents so nice, and it's a lot lighter. The Arai almost honestly fits a little more comfortable on my head, but just the fact that it has all that extra weight and doesn't vent, the Aero makes up for the comfort side of things. So yeah, I got my freshly Red Bull painted helmet that morning from my Red Bull guy, did the studio shoot, and then we drove out and did like action stuff and a whole little video piece on my bike and shot some stuff on that. So that was really fun. That was actually my first time I got to ride the E-Start bike, besides just starting it up in my on my outside my garage at like 10 p.m. I had to make sure it ran before we loaded up. So everything was a great success. The bike worked really good, except on that bike I have a Magura clutch, and I hadn't actually gotten to test it yet, but I heard from a lot of people that they put it on and took it off, and I might end up doing that myself because it just feels like garbage. But someone emailed me and they had so there's obviously different size master cylinders, right? So like if you're on a KTM, Sherco, Beta, you're running a Brembo, and you have the option of a 9mm or 10mm master cylinder. On Magura, the one it comes with is a 9.5mm, which is what I have on the bike now. And someone they reached out and said they had a 10.5mm. So it'll be stiffer pull. But like right now on my E-Start bike setup that went to Hawaii, I have the stiffest clutch springs I can put in it, and it still feels like the clutch is dead. It works totally fine, but I have no feedback. Like, it's just muscle memory that kind of gauges how the clutch feels. I can't feel that friction zone people talk about, or the engagement point. So hopefully, I don't think I'll be able to. It's a lot to change, but I think when I go to Hawaii, I sent a cable clutch there, and I have all the springs and everything. So I might just throw the cable on when I get to Hawaii. So anyways, did the dirt bike shoot Tuesday. Then hung out for a bit with Mark Tilley at Dirt Bike Magazine at his house, waited for traffic to die down because I've been out of California for years and forgot how bad it sucked going into the traffic. And then we headed up to the high desert and stayed Barstow area again, essentially. And that next morning I had the shoot with IRC. So, yeah, it was good. Good first impression with the IRC guys. Obviously, I've known them. They go to all our races. They're huge in our local, or the US Hard Enduro series. So it was a no-brainer to go with IRC in terms of support. And yeah, we did the photos and videos with IRC. And then Blake from the Hard Enduro Bros stuff, he was out there too, shooting as well, just getting some side content. And then so that was Wednesday. Then Thursday, went and stayed in Yucca Valley, which is about probably 35, 40 minutes or so from Hammertown. And, I bought a new GPS unit that I talked a little bit about, but I have a Garmin Montana. So it's just a way bigger touchscreen. And I tested it at home. I bought it on Amazon so I could return it in case I didn't like it. But, I tested the battery. It lasted plenty more than long enough. The screen was definitely a lot bigger, a little bit easier to see. So I wanted to test old loops. So I went out, I tested some old loops, found some of the markers for 2025 King of Motos. And I wanted to be a little bit harder to follow to practice GPS. So I followed like the course from 2 years ago. So I don't know, maybe it helped, maybe it didn't, with navigation with the GPS. But so yeah, Thursday we did that. And then it was ridiculous. Like I had so much stuff jam packed that week. So, cause then Thursday night was the inaugural like announcement for Aero Helmets USA. And that was all the way down in Temecula. So, Gator put on his nicest shirt he had, a True Work shirt. And we drove, the 2.5 hour drive, whatever it is, down to Temecula. Cooper Abbott was there too. And we did like this really nice, like fancy dinner at Dofo Winery, which if you know anything about like the Kirk Caselli Foundation, they have like a cool event there every year. So did that and then barged all the way back to the hotel. Friday, I had absolutely nothing. We were pretty much fully prepared on everything. But it was still probably the busiest day I've ever had at a race. There's just so much like hype and excitement about the bike. And then I was pitted with the Red Bull rig that'll actually be at a few more of the races this year, primarily probably all the West Coast ones and TKO. So it's really cool to have the support of Red Bull. They didn't pay me anymore, but I was able to convince them for pit support. So that worked out pretty good. So yeah, it was just a really busy day Friday. We had the Riders Press Conference, which was really cool. I'd like to have that at more of our events, just kind of talk about what's going on. And then what else? And then also it was really cool. I met, we had one of the big guys at Yamaha showed up this weekend just to kind of learn about hard enduro and off-road a little bit more and the sport. And it looks like I got him convinced to come now to Grinding Stone as well. So he'll be out there. He's head of four-wheel racing, but he goes to pretty much all the supercrosses. And he was like pumped to come out to Hammertown and get his hands a little bit dirtier with the off-road guys. And I talked to him this week, and he's already amped about trying to go to Grinding Stone and cancel his supercross plans and come out. So hopefully we got the right guy on our side in the off-road world to get some more support. I know I definitely need it, right? Like I'm doing a lot here, and obviously I have a lot of their technical support, but they don't really know exactly what it is I'm doing until they go and see. And he was taking a bunch of photos. He was doing videos. He said he's going to write up a report to send to the higher ups in Japan. So I don't know. We haven't had this before, so it's pretty exciting to see their involvement now. So yeah, and then Saturday was the qualifier. I showed up late, so I didn't get a very good gate pick, but I made a couple quick moves. Somehow I found myself in second. Tristan went down, made sure he was all right. And then Will Reardon was just gone, like completely checked out. And I kind of just got comfortable and, knew that the race didn't really matter. I was going to push if I was in a spot, but I knew I wasn't going to catch Will, especially since he got second in Erzberg prologue. So that wasn't going to happen in like a little bit easier course. So I was kind of enjoying myself and maybe lollygagging around a little bit too much because then Tristan caught back up to me, held him off for a bit. And then I had a terrible run up Resolution, which is kind of the start of the second lap. You go up back door, like that big ledge. And I definitely was riding tight and struggling a little bit with my setup. I made quicker adjustments for the next day too. And I think it almost made things worse for Sunday, unfortunately. So yeah, you ride it home and prep the best you can, but until you race it, like you don't really know at race pace how the bike's going to handle. So, performance wise of the motor and engine, for what it is on a 250, obviously I have the two-stroke performance head, that, I was fortunate enough that South Bay Performance helped me out with that. So shout out to those guys. Ryan, if you're on here, tell your dad thanks. So yeah, the bike was good. It's just my setup was a little like stiff still. And so yeah, Tristan got by me. I kind of caught back up to him, and then Ryder caught up to us in the zigzag. I forget what they call that section. But for everyone at King of Motos, they know what I'm talking about in the qualifier. And then right after that, I was right behind Tristan, and Ryder was right behind me when we got on top of that big mesa. And I know I've hit this same rock before on my Sherco, and probably even on a KTM, because we've been riding this same loop back in either direction since 2015. And I just leaned into something and caught the shifter on a rock perfectly and wedged it up against my ignition cover. And I already had a concern about that a little bit, because I have like an extension. I don't know, not really an extension, but like the way my slave cylinder mounts for my Brembo clutch on that bike, it sticks out a little bit, like maybe 3/8 of an inch. So yeah, my shifter just got stuck, and I got stuck in second gear. Tried fixing it with the tools I had in my pack, took those out. Didn't have enough leverage to pry it, and tried pulling on it. I'm like, whatever, just have to make do, and tried to ride some more. And then obviously Ryder passed me when I was trying to fix it the first time. And I was like, this is going to be real rough, because I can only go in second gear and neutral. For some reason, I couldn't get into first. I don't know. The way it would shift up, it gets stuck. So I had neutral and second gear. That wasn't going to work, because there's a lot of fast stuff headed back. And my gearing, I have 1250 gearing. So yeah, I ended up leaning my bike over and taking the time to actually fix it. I found a rock, pried it out. That rock broke, found another rock, and Cooper Abbott caught me. He checked on me, and I was like, you're good, keep going. So, I wanted to at least try and get a little bit of ground back for a better start position the next day. So I kind of put on a charge, and I felt like I actually loosened up a little bit after that, because, you get your heart rate up, and then I kind of settled back down. So I actually felt like I was riding better from there to the finish than earlier. And I was able to get Cooper back. So I got fourth in the qualifier, which I was totally fine with. I had a little issue and wasn't going too hard, to be honest. And then mostly was just trying to prep and conserve for Sunday. I still felt really confident, like I had the ability to go out there and make things happen. But Cooper got a really good start on Sunday's race and kind of pinched me off, so I had to check up. And then Braxton got by me, and then he bobbled, and I lost quite a bit of positions right off the bat. Not ideal. And then if you watched my GoPro video I put up on YouTube, I went over the handlebars a minute into the race, and then obviously got dirt. I knew it was gonna be a long race, so I kind of took the time to get the sand out of my gloves. And I'm not sure if I was last of all the pro riders when I got going again, but so I got up on my GoPro, it looked like no one else was coming. And so yeah, it was really sketchy with the dust to push, and everyone was obviously everyone's just pinned, going crazy. And I started picking guys off one by one. Eventually I got into fifth when I finally got some clean air. So I got some clean air when I got to fifth, and went down, I don't remember the name of it, but the first gnarly downhill, King of Motos, really rocky one. It was an up the previous 2 years. I could see those guys, they would just out of, I could see him for a bit, and then they'd be gone, or we go around a bend. So, I was probably a minute and a half behind at that point. And, the first lap, I was a minute 45 behind. I was able to catch James Flynn near the end of the first lap. And then I forget where I passed James at. It might have been going into the finish. So I was able to get in front of James right before the start of the second lap. And James was riding really well. He actually caught back up to me. I was kind of riding my coattails a little bit in the beginning of downtown or something like that. The second, third, and fourth lap had the really long uphill. Rock Canyon, which was probably definitely the hardest part of the whole race. Yeah, James actually kind of caught back up to me there a little bit the second lap. And then at the top, I was able to pull away from him and never really saw him again. And I'd be coming down the hill and I'd looked left and I'd see the lead pack of Will, Tristan, and Ryder. And I knew I was in trouble because this happened to me 3 years ago, King of Motos. I didn't get a good start. And I got a good start, but I like made a mistake and I could never reel back in the guys that were leading. And I think if it was, last year's King of Moto wouldn't have been an issue. There's a lot of urgent terrain out there. And this year was all existing trail. And, it's never right to make excuses really. But even for myself, like obviously it's a GPS race, they always make note of this, but this year was the least amount I've ever looked at my GPS ever. Like I looked at it a little bit more in the qualifier, but I looked down one time during the main race, and that's because I knew exactly where I was going literally the whole time. They put the course, obviously we have a partnership with Onyx Off-Road, and I have an Onyx Off-Road account, so I use it at home a lot. So I basically went to the hotel every night and studied the course. I just kind of perused Saturdays, but both nights in a row, I looked at Sunday's course. And then Max Gersten did a Loop 3 preview, which was more or less it's the same exact thing as Loop 4, except Loop 4 just had like the little bonus thing at the end. So knew exactly where I was going, essentially. And I just looked once the end of the second lap just to be sure, near the end of the second lap. But I'd studied it so well on Onyx, and we've ridden these canyons before, and we've already ridden all the course in previous years, or know where we're at, essentially. At least the top guys do. So, and I know Will and Tristan did the same thing, because we talked about it afterwards. And like Will he just checked out, and those guys were just pacing off Will, so I couldn't catch up to him. And I think it just came down to my bike setup being a little too rigid, and I tried fixing it by softening the clickers, and I think I made the mistake of opening my rebound too much, which basically makes it softer, but it makes it like way faster. So, it helped absorb more of the stuff, but at the same time, I couldn't stay straight on the trail. So I had no issue in the slow, super gnarly terrain. My biggest issue was all the medium enduro segments of the course, or the easy stuff. I just was getting way too much feedback to my hands and got a couple of blisters, nothing like bleeding, but it definitely slows the pace down. And I just wasn't able to reel them in. So at the end of the day, I was, obviously I wanted to be on the podium for sure at the first race. I knew I had the ability to win. It just, I have a little more work to do, right? So, and, that's part of this new endeavor is figuring out the new bike. And I already have, my suspension's coming off tonight after this call, since I'm home now. And, I've already been chatting with the suspension guy and getting a new setting in, which we're going down a spring rate in the front, because I can't even bottom my forks right now. And there's nothing wrong with bottoming your forks. You don't want to be bottoming everywhere, but like, it's okay to clank if you hit something really gnarly. That means you're using all your travel, and I'm still have some left. So I know my setup's too rigid for sure in the front. My dial in the rear a little bit as well. I actually ended up slowing the shock down some. I think it was too much of a pogo stick. So I went in on the rebound on the bottom. And yeah, when I was in St. George, obviously I couldn't do much. I was just playing around with clickers. We all might have tried each other's bikes here and there. I won't say names, but a couple people at the bike, they were very surprised by the YZ. They liked my bike. So I was proud of that. Proud moment for me. But yeah, it gave me an idea of just kind of what the other setups those guys are doing, because I was trying to see where their bike was maybe doing better than mine. So yeah, I'm learning right now, and wanted to share that with you guys. So yeah, I got new suspension setting coming. I have a different offset, so I got X-Trig clamps to test. And there's a whole thing. So I believe stock, what X-Trig guy told me was 25 millimeter offset. I'm going to a 23 millimeter offset, And the way with rake and trail means it actually gives me more trail. So the bike should be a little more stable. And then I don't know. I don't know if it turns tighter or not. Who knows? I'm not sure. I'm not that worried about it. I just don't want to be deflecting and bouncing off everything anymore. So anyways, that's kind of the setup change for now. And then I need to check in and see, but I do have a transmission coming from Japan. The other thing I was struggling with a lot, it wasn't really a struggle per se. It was just kind of just annoying to deal with, I guess, but with how much I was shifting out there compared to, being on what I was previously riding. I don't really have a true wide ratio transmission. So the 2003 to 2006 WR 400 and WR 426, the gears actually fit in the YZ250 gears. So you can do it on a YZ250 or 250X, but basically, the standard YZ250 is a very like like a linear step, first, second, third, fourth, fifth. Like they go up very consistently. Whereas the YZ250X is same first, same second as a motocross bike, and then it's a little bit closer to third, so it kind of gets thirds closer to second, and then boom, it's a big gap to fourth, and then an even bigger gap to fifth. So what I was struggling with is that like first to third range, I'm like boo, 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 like going through the gears so much. And I couldn't get first low enough for the technical stuff. I could have got away with 1352 out there. And then I probably would have been a lot more stable. The bike actually handles better if you can get like a bigger countershaft sprocket on, then also you won't eat away at your rubber guide on the swing arm. But if you have a 12 on, it kind of like fights the suspension in the rear, like it kind of binds it up a little bit. And that's why I went back to a 13 at Sherco. Even if it was tall for some scenarios, I felt like I could carry more momentum and the bike handled better for me. So yeah, running a 1250, I could have gone to like 1249, but yeah, I couldn't. I was definitely like topping out on some of the fast stuff with 1250 gearing, and then that shouldn't be an issue at any of the rest of the races for the rest of the year. But yeah, the window was really small, and I think it's obviously it's a 250, so you don't quite have as much torque in the motor, and like I've done a lot of mods, and it's significantly better. But yeah, I think having that WR transmission, which it makes it like a crazy low first gear, and then a significantly lower second gear, not as crazy as like how much lower the first gear is, and then third stays the same, and then fourth and fifth are the same. So if I had a normal YZ250, then I would change out third, but I already have the same third gear as the WR. So that gearing chain will be good because then I could probably run like 1350 gearing, and it just makes the transmission a lot more usable and kind of actually gives me that wide ratio feel again. Because right now I just have weird windows, and what I was trying to tell people is like my bike definitely lugs as long as I have some momentum. The big struggle is like trying to get, if I have zero run at all on a hill and trying to get going, that's where I got to ride like Mario Ramon. I don't know if you've seen Mario's videos, but he definitely like pins it and gasses it to get going. So I got to be a little bit more aggressive. So I definitely need to test that. So I actually ordered a crate motor because I'm going to Erzberg again with Red Bull and trying to do more stuff with Carson Brown on that end. So for me, I figured it'd be easier to just build a motor at home and fly with a cooler or ship it ahead of time or something. So getting another motor, getting that WR transmission. And the problem is they're completely out of stock. There's like a first gear on eBay, and I'd have to like buy some WRs off Facebook Marketplace or something. But yeah, Japan had 2 left. That was it. And I only got 1. but they do have all the specs, and Yamaha US, they have the ability to remake those gears if they have the specs on it. So I'll have the crate motor, build that out, and then split the cases and drop those gears in. But yeah, so suspension, different offset, transmission, pretty big deal. I'm diving in more than I anticipated, but it's good for content, right? So yeah, I'm moving forward. We're getting it figured out. Ryan just said, do you think the Hawaiian terrain, if really wet, will make the YZ250 a bigger disadvantage than West Coast events, or will it even the playing field versus the other 300s? So yeah, I think it won't be as big of a deal as some of the other East Coast events, because you can't lug. It doesn't work to lug there. Those guys just like pin it and flog the clutch, and I don't have an issue doing that. The bike definitely has a smaller window of where the power is a little more like user friendly. So definitely takes a little bit more like throttle control on my end. So I think for Hawaii, if it's really wet, I'm just going to flog it and hold the clutch, use the clutch to control the power. And then I still need to talk to the guy from Hitless a little bit. He wanted me to call him, but I can change out the governor system on the power valve. So that could help. I just need to talk to him, just discuss like which direction I need to go on the shims. He has a wood setting and the desert setting, and right now I just have his generic wood setting in, which is more for like a hair scramble type rider. Single track, but like nothing true hard enduro. So maybe messing with that governor shim stack. It's just like on the governor, like the spring, kind of like a KTM, you can swap out the power valve spring on the older bikes. So it would basically kind of be changing that spring preload tension essentially. Yeah, and I know I'll for sure have spare parts when I go to Hawaii. Like Ryan said, there's a lot of hard enduro YZ guys there. So that'll be sweet. Have some more teammates at Hawaii, because I know for sure I had one teammate at King of Motos who I met this year who was rad. He had already done a lot of similar mods I had on his bike. So that was cool to chat with him and his dad about bike setup on the Yamahas. Sorry. That's it. That's it for now. I did get a smart carb. So they came out with the SC3 and they gave it to me at King of Motos, but then they forgot to give me so the YZs have a throttle position sensor and it's only for like higher revs essentially. So it probably won't make that much of a difference, but they forgot to send me the TPS for it. So they sent that in the mail separately. So I'm thinking sometime next week, I might try throwing the smart carb on and give that a go and see how it is. Because I forgot to mention one thing that definitely I've struggled with a little bit on the Yamaha and other people as well is it likes to stall unexpectedly. Like if you're going on a hill and you start like leaning forward, like something about the float level. So I'm assuming the float level is set a little rich. So essentially it kind of floods the bike out. If you turn your air screw in a ton, it's just going to, almost flood the bike with fuel and kill it. So I'm thinking maybe going to the smart carb might help with that. I'll definitely get better fuel economy. Just need to see how the new Venturi system works, pulling the air through out of the air boot. And I think it might be the same metering rod, maybe a little bit richer, but it's also a 38 mil carb. So yeah, I got some tinkering there. It's worth trying for sure. Definitely on the fuel efficiency side of things. Patrick just chimed in about the tubeless beadlock system. So he actually just posted something today about it. He calls the new Moose. So I'll talk about the beadlock system first. So obviously before tubeless did have a tube in it. It technically was a lie, false advertisement, but it had like that 100 to 110 PSI inner bladder that was sealed in that like rubber carcass, and you air that thing up and it basically like sealed off all the spokes and then help hold the tire on the rim. I don't know how it helped held the tire on the rim, but it did. But there's also a rim lock on it too, pretty sure. So maybe it's just the one rim lock that held it on. But yeah, so it basically created an airtight seal in there, and those bladders still failed. Like literally just last Saturday, I was doing a training school, and this one kid had tubeless on a Sherco, and after lunch he had to borrow someone's Beta because he was just sitting there, and the bike all of a sudden just went, and the tube failed. He's had it for who knows how long. So, but the new inner bead lock system, I don't know, I call it an inner bead lock. So, rock crawlers, King of Hammer guys, they have like that bolt-on piece around the outside of the rim, and they run low pressure, they're crawling on stuff, the tires flexing, the sidewalls flexing, and it kind of helps hold the sidewall on the bead of the rim. So yeah, the inner bead lock system, I believe, is 8 or 9. I don't remember. You have to drill a bunch of holes in your rim. Every 4 spokes, you drill another hole, and they're long, narrow, mini bead locks, essentially. I guess they're not mini because they're way longer than normal, but they're really skinny, and they fit in the channel of the rim, and then they also like suck down and like hold the bead in place against the edge of the rim. And it works really well so far. And then Trent just chimed in on it. And then on top of that, obviously you could just only run that and slime. But I learned the hard way that you had to put slime in the tire first and then put it on, because the valve core, they want to keep maximum like strength in that, because it still is a rim lock. It's not just only a valve core and the valve stem. So it's very small hole to let the air in and out. So there's more strength as the rim lock, essentially. And we could not get the slime through that. So if you ever get this, put the slime in the tire, then mount the tire on. You mount it like a traditional tubeless, where you kind of drop the rim into the tire and then mount both sides of the tire. It's a little tricky the first time you do it, and then once you get a system, it's not that bad. So yeah, it worked really good. I've got a couple slices, but then you still have a half mousse, and you don't need to cut it because now Nitro Mousse is selling them. They have 2 molds. They have like a platinum, and I'm pretty sure they have a plushie, but the plushie is the same mold. Yeah, and it kind of has like these weird channels on the outside, so slime can kind of move around, and it's round like the outside of the tire with these ridges in it, so the slime can have access to move around a little bit. And then the inside is like concave to give space for the old traditional tubeless and this new inner bead lock system. So it's really cool mousse to put in there, and it's a fail proof. Obviously, the tire's never going to come off the rim, and if you do get a slice, it still works. And it's called the 5150 5150. But yeah, I've been pleased with this so far. I did get a slice at King of Motos, but if you're like moving and stuff, it doesn't really lose. But when next time you go, the tire's cold and it's not really expanded. It didn't end up holding hair, but I didn't have slime in. So yeah, you need slime tire sealant. And the tire sealant that Trent's talking about, it has like little black specks in it. I don't know what it is, but you can't just get like the tube type. It's like a tire sealant for like cars and stuff. I have 2 gallons of it at my house now. I got the big tub, and then I have the small one that I take to races. It holds 32 ounces, and I do about 8 ounces a tire. So yeah, I have four tires a set worth of slime, essentially, when I go to the race, and then I have like a big gallon thing to refill it. So yeah, that's that on that. It was really exciting. It was cool to be kind of part of all that and shown off to everyone. I've been on it for a little over 2 weeks leading up to King of Motos. Graham's been on it for like, I think another month or a little over a month before I got on it. So Jarvis is on it, and I think he has it on the front wheel too. So I don't know when it's coming out, maybe March, but they're starting to market it now. So you can't really tell. I'm looking at that photo you shared in here, Trent, but you can kind of see the ridges in there. Maybe I'll post something. I got a new box in my house. I'm looking at questions now from online that people brought up. This guy, James Saunders, I believe, he mentioned putting in a vote for Electron. He has one on the YZ and loved it. What changes are you going to make now that one race is done? We talked about that already. Multiple changes, 3 big changes. Gear development with MSR and Rocky Mountain. I hope so. I definitely want to help them figure out some stuff with their gloves. I think they can make an improvement on the gloves. And then with the gear, I don't really have too many complaints in terms of fitness wise, I guess. I did have to go to a 34 waist because the 32 had no room for comfort anywhere down south. And I have long legs, so I had to pull them up higher. And it was a little tight for me in that region. So I went to 34s. And then Jersey, I feel like MSR is kind of like your everyman fit, not like your TLD with Justin Barsha and his podium peen tightness going on. So the jerseys were like loose. So like I should be in an XL, but I chose to wear large. So like it wasn't kind of flapping and catching as much stuff on my arms. So it's a little short, but I like the fit a little bit more. So I don't know. We'll see. I got some new gloves. So hopefully I can give some insight there. I'm not going to do Electron, but I do have the smart carb. So that's next up on the list of one of the changes. Why not chin mount your GoPro for non-race YouTube videos? Yeah, I guess I can do that. Then you guys can actually hear me. I just hate putting the chin bar. I don't like it there. I'll do the chest mount shoulder one. That's easy enough. Also, I found out at the Hard No Burrow shoot, the GoPro mount doesn't work on my Aero helmet. Like I do something and it like almost fall off, and I would like grab it and come off in my hand. So that wouldn't last very long. But I'll do the shoulder strap. What was the strength of the YZ? Funness factor. That was definitely one of them. Honestly, like working on it before I got the oversized tank was really nice compared to what I came off of. There's no wires. It's so easy. So far it's been really bulletproof. I did eat absolute dog crap the other day over the handlebars, and I did get a leaky coolant line, and we fixed it with that like sticky tape stuff. So yeah, once the oversized tank, I pretty much need it, but I hate working on my bike with that thing. So I got, no matter what, it has to come off, and everything else has to come off the way the oversized tank is. The weakest part of the YZ is probably that shift window I'm talking about. I'm shifting a lot more. This is not quite as much torque. If I'm moving, not an issue at all. Like the bike has more than enough. It rips, it hill climbs crazy good as long as I got to run. But yeah, we'll see how it does on the East Coast. But I'm really enjoying it so far. It's just super fun to ride. Weakest part, yeah, shift window. Okay. Why are you not using the smart carb? Well, because the keying works really good, but I don't know how to adjust a float. So maybe I'll put on a smart carb. I need to try it anyways. Oh, this guy brought on when you would die on downhills. Once I moved to smart carb, why has he never died on a downhill again? There it is. Proof's in the pudding. Just got to put a smart carb on, I guess. Trent said, I'm guessing you're contracted with IRC, but do you / can you test to potentially run the new tech tires that are coming out? I will not be able to do the new tech tires. I do have one. They sent me a front, I think, or they sent it like before I had signed any deal or anything like that. And it's just in my garage. Maybe I'll do a giveaway for a new tech tire since I can't run it. But yeah, there is some exciting stuff coming out with IRC. They're very motivated. My tire was relatively roached after King of Motos, and they want to do some work and development, and it looks like there might be like a Cody Webb signature tire coming out, so I'll have some input on that, which is really cool, and I'm excited about that aspect. Get to use some more of my engineering degree, even though I know nothing about rubber. I guess that much I know how it reacts sometimes. I had not the best taste in my mouth with some of the Kenda stuff. Dunlop, they've had good and bad tires. So yeah, I've tested a lot of different tires, so I'm excited to see what kind of comes out of my partnership with IRC in that realm. And then for Hawaii, I'll be on a 140. I did run a 110. There was a big chat at King of Motos about what tire I was going to use. So I used a 110 there just because I knew it. I hadn't had the chance to test the 140 JX8 yet, and I knew I did not want to run the 140 FIM tire there. So, yeah, that's why I ran the 110. I knew it was good. Pierce said, how nasty were the downhills like Dead Blow, Wolford Canyon, and Jackknife with just the Kickstarter? Dead Blow wasn't that bad. The other one, Wolford Canyon must have been the one on the third and fourth lap. I don't know Jackknife. Do I know Jackknife? Trying to think. Oh, Jackknife might have been that really short, crappy, nasty one. Yeah, it wasn't my favorite. That's why I had to do some editing on my YouTube. But I also had a bent rear rotor guard, so it was like grinding against my rear rotor, and it was kind of binding up the rear, which probably didn't help my stalling. Definitely didn't help. Probably helped me cause some more stalls. But I don't know. I'm pretty confident with like my clutch skills, and it was more of like the unexpected ones when I was just like riding, and it would just stall out on me. But anytime when there was like a focus and having to drop off stuff, yeah, it wasn't that bad. It was me. I was the issue. I think what I should do is probably go to the spot in my YouTube. I roughly know where it is, but I don't know how to do this, but I can probably figure out where to share like a video, like a certain time frame, because there's definitely parts in one of those canyons I want to show, like my line choice, and I definitely could tell no one else was going the way I went, but it was sick. So I want to share that with people. But I think that's about it in terms of setup stuff. Yeah, it was a good first race. Like, you never know till you race it. And, I'm not in a negative space about it all. I'm honestly excited. I just need more time to prepare and do what I want next. And, next up we have Hawaii. So, we prepped everything in advance, did a shakedown on that bike. Probably got about 75 starts now, maybe on the e-start. I didn't even charge the battery. I just put it in and rode it. So fully charged the battery before we left, unhooked the battery, drained all the fuel, bike went on the container, spare parts box of random crap went on the container, those left. So I'll get to Hawaii Wednesday. We have a prologue Friday. I think it's just on the enduro cross track there. And then Sunday will be the Hellacious race. Looking to redeem myself from last year because it was rough, very rough. Yeah, I got some work to do. I got to bring a shifter. I'm looking at getting some billet shifters now instead of just the stock cast ones. Billet rear brake with a brake snake or whatever they call it, the cable. I just need to now I have a little more time to work on some of the stuff since all the major stuff's done now and kind of fine tuning. I think I might go back to a cable clutch there for Hawaii as well, just because I know it's not going to fail me. Still not really sure on the Magura, and I don't like the way it feels. Feels like garbage. One thing I am really happy though is my clutch setup with Recluse, and I just was on the phone with him yesterday trying to figure out ways to add weight back. I can't really add any more weight to my flywheel with my kickstart bike and stock. So I'm running a GYTR flywheel weight, which if you're a Yamaha person, you obviously know what this is. But it felt a little bit too heavy and sluggish, like a turbo was having to spool up. So I had to shave the weight anyways on a lathe to fit my Brembo slave cylinder. And, I've been looking at maybe trying to get the Steely off-road. Steely off-road makes flywheel weights at all as well that kind of like bolt onto the stock ones. So might try and find a way to basically put the exterior of that one on a lathe too, so it fits, and then mount that on to add weight. And now I'm looking at steel clutch baskets to add weight, and there's ways to get weight back. But in terms of the new clutch I'm running, I talked to him yesterday. They're supposed to launch it on Friday, but it's called the Recluse Apex, but it's basically their torque drive, the most updated version. So yes, I have Recluse. No, it's not the auto clutch. Look at Star Racing's bike, Eli Tomac. He's got a Recluse clutch too. It's not an auto. But yeah, so I'm really happy with the clutch. The clutch is phenomenal on my bike. It works so good compared to what I came off of. And yeah, I'm excited to see kind of what these little changes I make do moving forward. And that's it. We were 50 minutes. So I'll call this one. But thanks, guys, for chiming in, ask some questions. And yeah, 5150 and the new tubeless, whenever that comes out, I think it's obviously a little more work and no one really wants to drill a bunch of holes in their rim, but it could be the next big thing. Like there hasn't really been much development in that world. So anyways, we'll see. That's it for now. Thanks everyone. And Trent's typing something. I'll wait till it comes through. Yeah, hard enduro burros. Hopefully we'll get some teachers out here pretty soon. Maybe I'll put on a sneak peek from my phone on the platform. Blake won't care. I'll do it anyways. All right. See you guys.